Today, we are going to chart a course into one of the most critical, most fascinating fields in our digital world, cybersecurity. If you've ever found yourself wondering what it really takes to go from just being curious to becoming a full-on professional defender, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's dive in.
It's a great question, right? Because the real path, it's nothing like what you see in the movies. See, to become a truly great defender, you first have to learn how to think just like an attacker. The trick is learning how to do all that ethically in a totally controlled and, most importantly, legal environment.
And that right there is the absolute key. Before you can even think about building strong defenses, you have to get to know a system's weaknesses intimately. This whole journey, it doesn't start with textbooks. It starts in a hands-on digital playground, a place where you can test things, where you can fail, and where you can learn, all without any real-world risk. So let's talk about this first stage. I want you to think of it as your own personal digital gym. This is the spot where you're going to build all those fundamental skills, that muscle memory that you absolutely need to succeed. It is all about hands-on practice. Now, the main piece of equipment in this gym is something called a vulnerable machine. It's a pretty wild concept. These are whole computer systems that are built with a purpose, and that purpose is to be hacked. Platforms like VulnHub, they host a massive library of them. You can find classics like the categorizes series, which, by the way, are perfect for beginners to practice on. Finding and exploiting really common problems, like an old, outdated web server. So what does a workout in this gym actually look like? Well, it's pretty much a four-step process. First, you scan for open ports. Think of it like checking all the doors on a building to see which ones are unlocked. Next, you enumerate or figure out the services running behind those doors. Then comes the fun part. You find a weakness and you exploit it to get inside. And finally, you escalate your privileges to gain total control. That four-step routine, that's your fundamental training right there. All right, so after you've spent some serious time in the gym building up those foundational skills, what's next? The next step is to get professional guidance. It's time to find yourself a coach. Look, self-study is fantastic. It's a great way to start. But to really turn that practice into a career, you need structure. And this is where official organizations come into the picture. They provide the kind of formal training that can take you from being a hobbyist to a truly hireable professional. Here in the United States, a major coach in this space is CISA. That's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They offer an incredible lineup of resources, everything from free training modules all the way up to huge national-level cyber exercises. This is how you take those raw skills you built in the digital gym and start refining them with industry-standard techniques. Okay, so you've practiced, and you've had some coaching. Now, where do you actually go? You need a map, right? You need a master blueprint that shows you all the possible destinations, and more importantly, how to get there. And this is where the coach and the map come together perfectly. If CISA is providing you the how-to with all its training and exercises, then the NIST NICE framework provides the what. It's basically the comprehensive map of the entire cybersecurity profession. So the NICE framework, it was developed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It basically creates a standard language for cybersecurity careers. It defines very specific jobs, it outlines what's required for them, and it shows how they all fit together in the bigger picture. This is the blueprint that both employers and educators rely on. And this is where that map just completely opens up. The framework outlines dozens of incredible career paths. You could become a cyber defense analyst working on the front lines, a penetration tester, the ethical hacker we've been talking about, or maybe even a cybercrime investigator. The possibilities are just vast. The framework gets even more detailed, which is amazing. For any given role, let's say a penetration tester, it breaks down exactly what you need. What's the knowledge you have to have? What specific skills do you need to be able to demonstrate? And what abilities are required to actually do the job well? This gives you a crystal clear target to aim for in your learning. So we have the gym for practice, we have the coach for guidance, and we have the map for direction. Now let's combine all of them into a clear, actionable path. This is it. This is the key takeaway. Your journey starts with hands-on practice on platforms like VulnHub. Then you formalize all that with structured learning from sources like CISA. And finally, you build a professional career by using a blueprint to plan, like the NIST NICE framework. It's not simple. Practice, learn, plan. So you have the blueprint. You've seen the path from being a curious learner all the way to a cybersecurity professional. The only real question left is, what's your first move?